Hello, hello, my loves. Happy 2020. If you've been listening to my astrological insight, you know that I have been saying 111 is the new 1-1. And we're a few days after that point, and it definitely feels that way. It definitely feels like the new year didn't really hit until mid-January. We got a little bit of a slow start, but that's okay because one thing that we want to realize when we say a quote unquote slow start, it's more of a patient start, more of a easing in start. We don't always want to hit the ground running because we could get too far ahead of ourselves. We could go faster than we're capable of. We could trip, and it's really going to hurt if you're going really fast and you trip and fall. I know I've done it. There are so many times where the universe has knocked me on my ass, and as soon as it happened, it was a moment where I realized I was going too fast with wanting things to happen. And so it was like, all right, if you want things to be really fast and you want them to be even more at a speed than is what is capable, you're gonna fall flat and it's gonna hurt. But if you're taking your time and you stumble, it doesn't hurt as bad, does it? Think about it. If you're going on a leisurely walk and like there's a little like bump in the sidewalk and you do that little trip and you're like, oh, you like hope that nobody's looking. It's like one of those moments and you're okay. Like again, you hope no one looks. And if they did, you just kind of like laugh it off and pretend nothing happened and you go about your day. But if you were like charging full steam ahead, you had a really full day, like you were meeting someone for coffee and you didn't even have time to meet them for coffee and you were getting all mad about it, blah, 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 blah. And you're just like rushing and like steaming ahead. You see those people in the street look like freaking serial killers on their way to their next meeting. And you hit a bump. It's going to be way more aggressive, isn't it? Yes. So we had a little bit of an easing into the year as was necessary. We don't have to have everything figured out all at once. And 2020 is a long game, that's for sure. And one of the games, quote unquote, that we're exploring is this notion of building your own confidence, building your own sense of clarity, and monetizing what it is that you do. Many of you are entrepreneurs, have your own business, are leveraging your own services, and it's a lot. It's not easy, and it takes a lot of education and resourcefulness, and it also takes a lot of being willing to look at your worth and look at who you really are and how you wish to identify not only with the work that you do, but how you show up to the world and how you're seen, your presence. And that's what we were able to unpack at Confidence, Clarity, and Cash, which is open right now until Thursday, if you're listening in real time. Otherwise, if you're listening another time, just basically check the link in the bio for the program. And what this program is, Confidence, Clarity, and Cash, is an immersion to allow you to get a deep dive into what it is that you're offering from a space of who you are, your why, your intention, and to convert it so that it actually translates into something that you feel fulfilled, sustained, and abundant by. Because if you don't have those things down, you can do all the paid advertisements and you can listen to all the business coaches that tell you, oh, just make a course, or you can do all the things that people are quote unquote telling you to do. But if you at the end of the day can't sit down with me and confidently have a conversation around what it is that you have to offer and how I can convert and be a conversion for you and opt into your services, then you have nothing. Okay? You can have the prettiest, fanciest website. You can have the best photos. You can have the most curated Instagram feed. But again, at the end of the day, if you can't have a conversation with someone around why it is that you love what you do, how they can get in on it, and where they can go from there, you have nothing. And that's what I see happen time and time again. And that's why I created this program. So essentially, Confidence, Clarity, and Cash is an immersion through videos, exercises, and meditations to help you get really clear on your vision, how to understand your worth and your value, how to more confidently back what it is that you do, and open up into receiving. It's really amazing. Individuals that have taken it so far have left feeling lighter, more at ease. One person literally said we were 2 hours into the program and she was like, I've already gotten the investment that like I've already gotten more in investment in this than I have with B School. Like that's huge. So if you're like feeling like you need a little business pickup, you need a little D School. So check the link in the show notes and get in on Confidence, Clarity, and Cash, an amazing immersion to help you step it up, find your worth, and turn it into your gold.
out.
So let's continue the conversation around our calling, our purpose, what it is that we're here to do. Whether you're self-employed, you're looking to start up your own business, or you're just kind of fumbling along when it comes to your career and you're looking for more guidance how to feel more fulfilled in the work that you're doing, this is what we're going to explore. Because so often when we're not doing something that is quote unquote the norm, or we're not doing something that is recognizable, we have a tendency to doubt what it is that we do. We have a tendency to second guess our power and our presence and our gifts. All right. It is through other people not knowing what we do that we often then think that we are in a position where we do something that isn't important. Just because someone doesn't know what you do does not mean it is not important. Let's say that again. Just because someone doesn't know what it is that you do doesn't mean that it's not important. I want you to think about that. I want you to think about when you think about your career. I want you to think about it when you think about your business goals. I want you to think about it when you're thinking about being an entrepreneur, having offerings, having services. Some people may not know what you're doing. Some people may think it's not necessary. Some people may doubt if it even works. That does not mean that you don't know what you're doing, that it isn't important, that it doesn't work. Because if you believe that, you are going down the wrong path, my friend. You are going down a path where you are constantly going to be justifying who you are. You're constantly going to be making deals and lowering your value, not charging enough. You're going to be constantly in this space of desperation and overexcitement and really high surges and lows to try to please the individuals that are telling you they don't understand what you do. They're not into what you do. They're not sure if it's going to work. And so we exhaust all our energy on those individuals as opposed to getting really clear on what it is that we have to offer, finding confidence around it, and then finding the people that say, oh, that's really important. Oh, I think I need that. Oh, that's something that I could use in my life. And it's from that space that we continue to grow and shift and elevate our business. It's not from, well, just tell me what I'm supposed to do to make my business work. It's not from, well, what should I charge? Because I'm not sure. It's from, no. I'm going to sit down and I'm going to get really clear on what it is that I have to offer. And I'm going to see my value and I'm going to see my gold. Okay, let's take away the notion of anyone else thinking that they know what's best for you. Okay, let's take that out of the picture. And let's go back to that space of where you were when you first got the idea of a job, of a career, of a calling, of a product, of a service. That moment, that idea, that notion is everything. That is truth. That is your own soul serum. And that has leverage, but you have to allow it to have leverage because the kind of leverage that you may be having with these things isn't serving you. For example, I pretty much spent most of my life not knowing what I was supposed to do, which isn't technically true because when I think about it, I, at a very young age, said I wanted to be a talk show host, but I was told that won't work. That's too difficult. The chances of that working out for you are very slim. So I immediately was told, you can't do that. So then what did happen? I got led down the wrong path. I got led down a path that was not serving my soul serum, that was not in alignment with my gold, that was not allowing me to step up and be like, oh, this is my truth, so I'm going to keep exploring it. Instead, I was going down a path that was wrong for me because whenever anyone would recommend something for me when it came to career, it didn't feel good. You know, people would say you should be a teacher, you should, I don't even know, I don't even think anyone really told me. Oh, someone told me, my mom told me this once, that she was like, you should, because I was really good at typing. And she was like, you should be one of those people in the courtroom, the stenographer or whatever, that like takes down all the words that they say in the courtroom. Okay, that was an option that someone gave to me. I should be a preschool teacher. I should work with individuals with special needs. All really beautiful things, but it didn't light me up. I wasn't excited. I didn't feel great about these possibilities because it was continuously supporting the wrong path for me. While it was all things that were fine and doable, they were still harmful in their own way because they were toxic to my own self. And then when I would say things around wanting to be a performer or wanting to be in the spotlight or wanting to pursue psychology or wanting to pursue being a writer, I got so much backlash. So of course, not only was I second guessing myself, I wasn't pursuing it. I wasn't pursuing the things that my soul told me it loved. I wasn't pursuing my serum. And so what happened was I was constantly pursuing how to make this wrong path comfortable. Well, this path is wrong. This path is awkward. This path is difficult. However, I don't know what else to do. So let me just try to make it as manageable as possible. Let me just do what people say. I'll go to school for elementary ed. I'll drink after work because that'll kind of numb the pain a little bit. I'll just work these random jobs until eventually I figure out my purpose. And that's kind of what I did for a really long time. And the only reason why I kept working jobs that I didn't like was because I thought it was the only way. And because I got so disconnected from my soul and that serum and that juice that lived inside of me. And it wasn't until I got myself into a space where I started to learn things like meditation, that I started to go back to my roots, that I started to remember how much I identified with the metaphysical world, how much I loved this sense of a universal God, how much I loved the notion of using my voice and writing and being in front of people. And still there was that teaching component that people did mention to me. And sometimes people would say, oh, you should be a comedian. That would come through too. But it had meaning now. Being a teacher, being funny, being in the spotlight, all made more sense when I realized that part of my dharma was to help people see another way, to get people off the right path and get them onto one that was more fulfilling, more satisfying, and way more aligning. And it was through that things started to click. And it's through that I never felt like I had to justify what it is that I'm doing. Okay? That was a long time coming. I had to build my confidence first. So how do we build our confidence? Well, we have to really know that we're the expert in what it is that we're doing. Part of why we don't like self-promotion is because we don't appreciate the value. We're devaluing ourselves before the words come out of our mouth. And that's with anything. That can be in relationships, that can be with body image, that can be with your job. We are literally devaluing ourselves before we even have a chance to move things forward. And that's not cool. We don't want to do that. Especially when it's our thing. Like, we have to remember, like, if we don't claim ourselves as the expert, if we don't claim ourselves as being valuable, if we don't claim ourselves as being sufficient, then we really can't claim ourselves as much in this world. We don't have much to show for. And so I started to realize that me trying to say the things that other people wanted kept me on the wrong path, kept me feeling a false sense of validation. And I recognized that the validation I was seeking was in the fulfillment of me following my heart. Was the feeling of like, oh, this is what the right path feels like. This is what it looks like to navigate through this jungle. This is what it means to be focused. And I noticed that once I was in the space of not blocking the flow and not taking the wrong path, I didn't procrastinate as much. I didn't feel as lost. I didn't feel as worried about telling people what it is that I do, and instead got excited around the notion of what I do. Excited to have conversations with people. Excited to showcase what I had to offer. Excited to be able to wake up in the morning and be like, this is how I can help the world. This is the best use of me. So I really want you to think about this notion when it comes to this notion of calling. I want you to think back to maybe those signs that you had when you were younger. Or maybe you're in a space right now where you know what your calling is, but you just can't seem to execute it. And when you're in that space, I want you to think about what lights you up about it. I want you to think about what excites you. And I want you to stay in that space. Because it is from that space that you have real leverage. And it's from that space when someone says to you, Oh, what does that even mean? Does that even work? Oh, I didn't even know people were still doing that, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You have a choice. You have a choice if you want to continue the conversation, or you have a choice if you want to divert it. But regardless, it has nothing to do with your worth. It has nothing to do with your value. There are people that are going to come in and out of your life that are going to be a true match for what it is that you do. And then there's going to be individuals that aren't a match. And that's okay. Do you really want a client or a boss that isn't that exciting to you? That is kind of boring to you? That doesn't appreciate your value? Has anyone here worked a job where they didn't feel appreciated? Did you like that? Would you want, if you were running your own business, to have clients like your boss that don't value you? No. So why are we allowing ourselves to let those individuals run our lives and run our businesses and run our fate? Why don't we let the individuals that are curious, that are excited, that are ready to explore what it is that you have to do? Why not find the work environments and the bosses that have appreciation and understand the value of support and that know that we're all in this together? Why can't you put yourself back in school, get more education, get yourself lit up around what it is that you're doing? You can. I want to remind you that you have permission to do whatever you want. However, you have to allow yourself to get behind that choice. I have the choice to do whatever it is that I want, here and now. However, I can't base that choice on others, their expectations, their validation. I base this choice on what is my soul-driven purpose, on what is my serum, on what is my gifts, and it is from that place that I know how to move forward. When you're confident and you're feeling good, you're unstoppable. Think about when you're driving somewhere and you know you've been there 100 times. You know which way to go. You can literally drive on autopilot. You don't really need to check directions. You're confident you're going to get there, right? Because you know it works. Now, let's say you have to go somewhere new and you don't have a map, you don't have GPS, it's confusing, it's raining. It's going to be a lot more of a struggle to get there. So you get to pick. Do you want to go to the place that you always go to that's easy and confident and it's the road is short? Or do you want to take all the time these weird back-ass roads that don't really make sense and you don't really know where you're going? That's what we're doing when we pick the wrong path. When we pick the wrong path, it's like starting over every single time. It's like driving to a new place where you don't know where you're going every single day. That would be really frustrating and annoying. And eventually, yeah, you might get tired of the path that you have to walk every single day that you know by heart. But that's when you find a new one and you're up for the adventure. It's really important to stay in the space of I practice my choice. I exercise what it is that I'm here to do. I allow myself to create in a way that feels good and necessary and valuable. And so when we get into that space of second guessing, what we're doing is we're getting into the space of I'm worried that I'm going to be this is going to be disapproving. I'm worried that it won't validate me. I'm worried that people won't understand. I'm worried that it will make me different. And that's, valid. Of course, we're worried about being isolated. Of course, we're worried about separation. Of course, we're worried about feeling like we're an outcast. And yet at the same time, what I can tell you is that by being the outcast for a little bit, by being a little bit different, you start to send out a signal. And those other people in the world that have felt a little different and felt a little isolated, they pick up on that signal. And guess what? You find each other. And it's through finding each other that things start to feel a little bit better. You start to feel a little bit less lonely. And you start to recognize the truth of the matter. And you start to recognize that where you were trying to fit in was never where you belonged. It's a big one. So I know I'm kind of throwing a lot of different nuggets. This is kind of all over the place with what I'm sharing. And I just kind of want you to pull from it what feels good to you. And I want you to start to understand that you can do whatever it is that is your truth. And by doing your truth, you not only do yourself a service, but you do a service for the rest of the world. And that's where you start to get better boundaries, because you're like, whoa, nothing's getting in the way of my truth serum. You can't get that. You know, in the movies when there's like those like vials and the bad guy wants it. It's like the, you know, not Young Living. I don't want to knock the oil company, but you know, those bad guys that will have like the serum for eternal youth and whatnot. And like everyone wants it. You have that inside of you. And there are a lot of people that want that. They want your value that you have to offer. Like, you're so good. You're so good at what you do. You're so good at exploring what it is that you do. And so now let yourself be so good at talking about what you do and not worrying about saying the right thing, but saying the truth. As long as you speak the truth, as long as you are authentic, you can't go wrong. You just can't. Because otherwise you're just going to always feel inferior. You're going to always feel like you're doing the thing that you shouldn't instead of doing the thing that you should. And so through this practice, which doesn't happen overnight, you start to build that confidence. You start to let your gifts be explored by you. I'm telling you, when you start to work your gifts and the magic that you have to offer the world, they will just keep expanding and growing and like multiplying on your behalf. And it's a really groovy, beautiful thing. And so if you really want to see your gifts and what you're capable of, own up to them, acknowledge them, embody them. And from that, things grow. So it's having the confidence to know better for yourself. And then from there, it's exploring your gifts so you get really clear on how they can best be executed. And then it's from that space that you don't second guess your value. Because if you're confident and clear, you better believe you're going to know your worth. You're going to know the salary that you need to ask for. You know that hourly rate. You know what that package is worth. You know how much that product should be. You just do. So don't second guess yourself, my love. Don't second guess the fact that you came here with a purpose on purpose, and that you have permission to expand into your personal mission here and now. Don't ever justify why your God sent you here. Don't ever question, am I good enough for them? Don't ever let yourself feel the desperation around wanting something so bad, yet being so scared of the possibility. I want you to know that I trust what you're doing. When you say what you want to do, I believe you. When you say what you're working on, I know it's magic. So let other people know that too. If I believe you, there are other people that believe you as well. But it starts with you. And that's how the ripple effect will happen. You deserve this. This is your time. I believe in you. I honor you. Let me say that again. I believe you and I honor you. Receive that. Don't just be sitting in your car being like, okay, cool, Danielle. Thanks for telling me. No. Let me tell you. I believe in what it is that you're doing, and I honor what you're capable of. And I want you to be in a space where you are feeling alive and lit up and fulfilled and sustained and abundant by what it is that you have to offer. I don't want you killing yourself to try to make this work. I want you owning up to it so that it can thrive. Take this in, receive it, and let it expand outwardly from there. You're amazing. Share this episode out if it feels good to you. And let yourself just sit with it. Like I said, I shared a lot of different nuggets throughout the episode. Sit with it, digest it, nurture it, and see where it takes you from there. I adore you.